Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by BL Lancer. New rules for parts in the office cost a sales guy his bonus. I work in launch quality for a mid-sized manufacturing company in the States. My team is basically the last step before a product can get okayed to sell, as we do all the final checks, customer documents, and regulatory sign-offs. Our last manager left just when COVID hit, as he was near 70 and decided to just retire. Took the company till October to decide to hire a new one. During this time, the salespeople stopped coming in, and because my team were some of the few office folks coming in, because we have to check the parts, they started shipping everything to us. Samples, prototypes, final launch parts, paperwork, you name it. Even better, they rarely picked everything up. They may take 5 to 10 of a 25-part run and left us with a mess. A year of this and the office was a wreck. And they didn't care, as none of the mess affected their bonuses, so long as those parts got to the customer on time. New boss comes in and he's one of the 2 managers on site, him and the production manager. Because of how the factory's laid out, our team are the only ones in the office, and so that's where he is. He questions the mess, but we say no one's cared about our concerns, so he shrugs it off. Now our boss has his faults. He's pretty tone deaf on the resources and time it takes to finish things sometimes because of the industry he came from, heavy automotive. His attitude is, if it takes us all 60 hours a week for the next month, we work it. The other side of that is if he's here with us, he'll occasionally just tell someone their assignment is not to be there for a couple days if things are slow, and he has our backs. Malicious compliance. About 3 months ago, the company president comes in for the first time in a year. He's pissed about the state of the office. As our boss is the only manager around, he reams him up one side and down the other for the state of things, despite new boss only being there about 6 months and all this predating him. Tells him to just figure it out, but I want this office clean and professional. Boss comes to me and says, write me a policy and process for shipping material to the office, storage, and disposal of things that sit. Have the draft by the end of the week, and I'll get you a budget and some factory folks if you need to buy anything, move, or install anything. So I write one that's pretty easy and straightforward. Basically what we had already been doing, but more organized. Shelves, ID locations, incoming and outgoing. Boss looks at it and makes 2 comments. We're not inventory clerks. Sales gets the ID of the shipment, and unless they get my or the production manager's approval, it's their problem. 2, we don't have that much space. Add a clause, we will throw out anything over a week old every Friday. Then he got me 2 maintenance people and told purchasing I had some orders to put in. Then he sent the policy to the president. President said to do it. 3 weeks later, the office is pristine. President has his chest puffed out the next time he comes through. Then last month it happens. We all knew sales wasn't going to pay attention to our policy, even though my boss personally met with the sales VP and the team leads. For the most part, nothing we threw out was a big deal, but then one of the team leads ships a whole prototype order to the office. I know the guy is infamous for getting other people to do his work and never follows up with anything. And if things go wrong, he throws us or production under the bus. Now this order is a big deal. High 6-figure contract with our number 3 customer, part of a new line that could generate millions. I tell boss and he shrugs and says I should email the guy to remind him of his parts and the new policy. No response. Friday cleaning comes and boss calls the guy in his cell. Voicemail. So, boss puts the part on his desk and has me send a reminder to the guy. Nothing. Monday rolls around and still no follow-up. So, boss reply alls my email with his boss, sales VP, and president on it, saying per policy, the guy had till 2 o'clock Tuesday, when trash people pick up our roll-off, to get his parts. Tuesday rolls around and he has me toss the parts and email the sales guy that I did. Things blew up on Wednesday. Sales guy calls me screaming at me for losing the parts, and there's no way to make new ones in time. Who the freak am I to toss his parts, etc.? Boss sees my face and can probably hear the screaming from his office and comes out to see what's going on. I managed to stammer something out and then got another earful from the sales guy. Boss takes the receiver from my hand, and I will never forget this. You will never speak to my people like that again. Pausing for cursing from the phone. I'm hanging up now. The next call you get will be from VP Ops for a meeting time to discuss this incident. We will also discuss your unprofessional language to OP. He hangs up as the next tirade starts and tells me to ignore the guy's next call. Reminds me we have a big due date upcoming and hands me his credit card so I can order the team dinner, and heads back to his office. About 4 o'clock he closes his door, which he only does for conference calls and HR stuff. My whole team can hear the yelling through the door, but not much detail. Around 5:25, HR sends out an email with times for mandatory training on following company policy and another for proper workplace decorum. Boss comes out about 6 o'clock, looking mostly tired, and remarks, "I will never understand why people want to freak with the folks who make the money and write the rules. Oh, your work assignment for Friday is to be off." Then he just heads back to his office to finish our project. P.S. I never did get an apology from the sales guy, but he's been way nicer. I know the contract miss cost him his bonus. It was only that 1 quarter. I think my boss took some crap assignments for the next couple weeks, but neither me or my team has heard anything about it. I'm kind of curious how common a situation like this is. For all you guys that worked in a place with a proper manager, have you ever had a manager like this that properly had your back? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Doodlerama. All your company's support is done by foreigners that can't even speak English anyway. This happened between 8 and 11 years ago. A little background, I grew up on the Mexican/US border. Even though I was in Mexico, we got perfect TV reception from American channels, so I became fluent in English by age 8. I lived in Minnesota for the entirety of my adult life, and friends in Texas mock me because I sound Minnesotan. Fast forward to me being either late 20s or early 30s, working in a suburb of Minneapolis at an Apple store as a lowly salesperson. The job there is to try to get folks an upgrade, buy a more expensive machine that they came in for, get accessories, and most importantly, buy Apple Care. I did fairly well because I was upfront with my customers about pros and cons, rather than just give them the scripted spiel about how magical and life-changing those add-ons were. I had a lot of regulars that would only work with me for this reason, and they always ended up buying more stuff in spite of my advice not to. Fast forward to some summer, and this kid from Wisconsin that's about to start college comes in with his middle-aged, tubby, loudmouth dad, and the concierge directs them to me. Dude is just completely rude, so I went into spiel mode. Screw this guy. I do all the scripted stuff, he was having none of it and I didn't care. I want to be done with him. We get to the Apple Care and the guy says, "Can you guarantee that I won't be talking with some foreigner? You can't even understand them." At this point, my petty little Mexisodan passive-aggressive heart lights up with joy at the opportunity. "Sir, we at Apple want you to feel happy with the services we offer as much as possible. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee that the tech support people will be American any more than I can guarantee that an American will help you here at the store. I'm actually Mexican, living as a permanent resident in the US. I apologize if you find my accent hard to understand. I'll go in the back and find an American to help you. But there are a lot of foreigners in this store, so it might be a few minutes." The schadenfreude at seeing this backwood racist squirm and say, "Well, you know what I mean." "I do, sir. I'll get someone else for you." No, you're doing a great job." I proceeded to have my way with his wallet by getting everything and anything that his son may need for college. I even made a couple of jokes to the kid to stay in school because otherwise he'll have to work at a mall and deal with rude people all day. I just love that in the end the guy's like, "Well, I've been outed, I am caught. Guess I'm just gonna go ahead and spend as much money as I can to make up for this blunder." This next story is by Power to the Pink Bunny. Boss refuses to change thermostat to a tolerable temperature, tells me to get a sweater or a coat. I work for my dad. When I was a little girl, my parents were divorced and dad was a control freak who made my mom's efforts to have a relationship with me and my sister very difficult and painful. Once I was visiting mom and my coat had been too small for quite some time, so even though she was broke, she bought me a beautiful coat. My dad was furious and refused to let me wear it. Why? It had faux, on the collar. At 3rd grade, I was too young to wear such a thing. He yelled at my mom for having the audacity to buy me the coat he refused to buy me and yelled at me for wanting it. The story, Dad constantly kept the office at a freezing temperature. It didn't matter what time of year it was, he'd crank the thermostat to like the lowest temperature it could reach. We had an employee from Siberia who was cold, so it wasn't just me. I had to buy gloves because my fingers were turning blue and the stiffness was causing typos. Dad dismissed my complaints with, "Go get yourself a sweater." Finally, I went shopping. I found a wonderful suede jacket with fur trim, and I knew it was perfect. The first time he saw it, he reminded me he wanted a sweater. I replied that it was simply too cold for a sweater. I needed a coat. He said, "And you think that coat is appropriate?" Yes, it totally was. I was defiant enough to where he picked his battles because he would yell at me so much, he felt the need to go to a Catholic confession over his treatment of me. Not that he apologized to me, so I won that battle. These parents are the prime parents to treat their kids like that throughout their entire lives. And then finally when they're an adult, they can do their own thing and they're finally free from that environment. These parents say stuff like, "I don't know why my kids never speak to me," or "I don't know why my kids have no respect for me." It's like, well, maybe you treated them for around 18 plus years in a very poor manner. That would make a lot of sense, right? Not that they would ever see it that way or ever agree. It's sadly just kind of what you get from a narcissistic or overly controlling parent. And our final story of the day is by Biochem Nerd 12. You want to question the contribution to my own research? Okay, let's waste everybody's time. This is probably minor, but I got some satisfaction out of this. I have my PhD in biochemistry, newly graduated, and interviewing for positions in industry. As normal, I give a seminar talk to the group, remote with PowerPoint, which includes the hiring manager. Audience has all PhDs in similar fields, with the most divergent being an individual with a PhD in engineering. At the end, I ask if anybody has any questions and that I would be more than happy to elaborate. One chimes in and says, "For the purpose of the interview, can you tell me what part of the study you contributed to?" I was confused, and so were others on his team based on their facial expressions. And then it hit me that he was questioning the contribution to my own research. This is highly unusual. By the way, it was 100%. I was responsible for planning, hypothesis, execution, data analysis, everything. If we had collaborators involved, I mentioned them by name and their institution in the talk as well as in the acknowledgements. Okay, so cue malicious compliance. I asked calmly, giving him the benefit of the doubt, "Where do you want me to start?" Thinking perhaps he wanted to know for a specific part. He goes, "From the beginning." I have 49 slides, so I started from the beginning and discussed what percent of the work I did, which was 100%. I went through every slide as he wanted, and I quickly saw how he regretted asking because it quickly became apparent. I did a lot more work than what I was conveying in my 45-minute seminar talk. This was inevitably a complete waste of time because I already gave the talk. By the end, everyone in his group looked annoyed at him, while I sat there pleasantly, because it wasn't a good look for him and his company that he questioned my own research. Later on, he apologized, but I can't. For added clarification, the individual asked me to go slide by slide. That wasn't my idea. I had asked where to begin to avoid the possibility, but no, he really wanted me to do that, which was highly unusual. And OP clarified in the comments later on that in the end, after even the VP gave OP a verbal positive for an extension of the offer, they decided not to hire anybody because they wanted to rework the job description. Imagine sitting there for 2 hours explaining this thing and then explaining over that, yeah, I did all of it myself. And then those prospective hirers go away and they're like, yes, that was very good. Let's not hire anybody. It's like, thanks for wasting my time and on top of that, questioning the body of my work. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.